Next speaker is Dr. Justyna Hampel. Excuse me if I pronounced that correctly. Please correct me. She's Postdoctoral Research Associate at the University of Southern Mississippi. Go ahead, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yeah? Okay, good. My name is Justyna Hampel. I'm a postdoctoral research scientist at the Gulf Coast Research Lab. I'm actually working in the lab of Dr. Leila Hamdan, whom you heard from earlier today. And I'm what is considered an early career scientist, so I don't really have a very long career story to share with you today, but hopefully you'll be interested in what I have to say. I am from Poland, so that's a long way to go for me. And I came to the US for my undergraduate studies on an athletic scholarship. And I never really thought in high school, or even in undergrad that I could be a marine scientist in the future. For me, it was, either go to med school or law school or something like that. I didn't really know what other career pathways are out there. So I was pre-med for a majority of my undergraduate studies. And then senior year, I realized I don't really want to go to med school and it's not something I'm interested in. So I decided to apply for a master's degree in environmental science because I always thought that was very interesting, and I love to work outdoors, and it sounded like a great match. And I decided to do a master's, which then turned into a PhD. That was at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. What I did for my dissertation work was looking at cycling of nitrogen in lakes. So again, I don't really have that much of a marine science background. But I was really interested in looking at how the fertilizer, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, how it impacts natural ecosystems, specifically lakes, because we know that all that agricultural runoff leads often to harmful algal blooms, which was the main topic of my dissertation. So I worked on Lake Erie in Ohio, which has really bad harmful algal blooms every summer. They're terrible for the economy. They're terrible for human health. I also got to work on the lake in China. That was very exciting. I got to go to China 3 or 4 times and do field work there. I worked on the lake in Florida, Lake Okeechobee, and St. Lucie Estuary. But all these lakes are super shallow. They're like 6 feet deep at most. So towards the end of my PhD, I decided I want to study marine systems, specifically the deep sea. So I applied for this position with Dr. Hamdan, and it was a pretty tough transition at the beginning because most of my my entire dissertation, 5 years long, was on these very, very shallow lakes, and now I'm making a jump to these deep sea ecosystems, which are very different in so many ways. But I love it so far. I'm having a ton of fun being a marine scientist. I love every aspect of it. And what I really wanted to share with you today is that you shouldn't be afraid to make these big jumps and leaps and leaving your hometown and even leaving your home country to go somewhere else and do what you really want to do and what you love. Another part of my story is that it's okay not to know what you want to do in high school. If you do, that's great. But for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do until like senior year of undergrad. So it's okay to make these decisions later once you kind of figure out what you do not want to do, which for me was med school. So right now I am a postdoc. It's a sort of a transitional position between being a student and hopefully a professor one day. And like I said, I'm working with Dr. Leila Hamdan. We're looking at these awesome shipwrecks and how microbes live around them and how they're changing the surrounding environment. So that's my story. Like I said, it's pretty short, just because I'm just starting right now. defended my PhD last year, so I'm super new to all of this. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, especially about the early stages of career and things like grad school and whatnot, and doing research. So.
Thank you so much, Justyna. I think it's super important for all the students to hear someone who is starting their career or new into their careers and things like that, because they'll be right behind you, I guess, as they're coming up. Does anybody? Well, it looks like we have a question. Ella, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
When did you do your first research project?
I started at the end of undergrad. Once I realized I do not want to go to med school, I also realized that if I do want to do research, I should probably start volunteering in a research lab. So my last year of undergrad, I did volunteer in an environmental chemistry lab where we looked at actually leeches that transfer HPV virus on sea turtles. So it was not so much of environmental chemistry, but I had a background in biology. That's why I got to volunteer in that lab. And then, of course, I did most of my research throughout the master's degree and PhD.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Going once. All right. I appreciate it so much, Justyna. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.